Hello, welcome back to another pen talk. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for coming along and accompanying me on my journey through the wide world of pens. This video is going to focus on one that I recently got, part of my August pen deliveries, and there's still more on the way. Yes, my malaise has left me and I'm back into the swing of things, full bore, pedal to the metal, come hell or high water. We're doing pen reviews. So this is the Fuliwen 017 that I recently received in the green purple. And here's the other three 017s that I've purchased in the past. And these are of the various finishes. I have a variety of them here. This one is Danube, which is mostly blue. This is Starry Night, which has some yellow swirls in it, but is very similar to the Danube. And they all share an interesting chatoyancy to them. I think it's a unique resin, unique to these pens, and in the very competitive world of turned acrylic pens, unique resins are somewhat on the rare side. I think Jonathan Sterling does the best work at Carolina Pens, and he's providing resins now to a lot of other pen manufacturers. I think I saw Conway Stewart with one of his resins, Franklin Christoph, maybe even Edison. I don't know, but he is an artist that is, I think, unique. He's also fooled around with Urushi, so I'm impressed with what he does. But I think these resins, on their own basis, are of a unique variety and give you that unique look. And the pen is a very well-designed pen, very nicely made, with a decent nib. There's a snake roll stop, which this pen came with it. Sometimes the pens are under $25 US without a roll stop. The roll stop is a couple bucks. Some of them only come with the roll stop, and they may cost like 27, which is what this one cost me. Here's a look at the Etsy buy that I made. If you're interested in this pen, I suggest you research the different vehicles and places that you have to buy Chinese pens, be it eBay, Etsy, Alibaba, Taobao, whatever, and you probably might find it for a lower price. There's a lot of sellers selling these pens. Sometimes the different colors sell out quickly, and sometimes they stay around for a while. So let's look a little bit more closely at these. And again, the resin is nice. The snake, you can take it or leave it. It comes off. It doesn't stay on very well. It's not going to replace a clip. It's just a roll stop, so it's easily replaced or easily comes off. Putting it into a pen case, I found that the snake really didn't help matters any because it just kind of slipped off. And then you could get lost within the pen case or the briefcase or bag that you're carrying your pens in. So I hope you're appreciating these resins because I just find them to be, again, very, very nice. You can get lost looking at them. But let's see how the rest of the pen is. I have some sunlight coming in, so I just thought we would take a quick look at these resins with some different light on them. The chatoyancy just really pops with sunlight. I noticed them when they were sitting on my desk and the sun was coming in the window. Some eye candy for your visual entertainment. So the cap comes off. With about 3 turns, which is a little bit over what I like to have in a pen of mine. It's a nice Fuliwen medium nib. Nice tipping materials, standard finned plastic injection molded feed. I mean, ergonomically, I love this pen. It's a nice section. Fits very, very well in the hand. It's not heavy. It posts okay. I certainly wouldn't have a snake on there if I was going to be posting it regularly, and it does make for a very, very long pen. And it's not real secure, so it does come off, but if you need to put your cap someplace, it will fit on the end of the barrel. The other thing that this pen made me aware of, which I wasn't aware of with the other pens, is you unscrew the section the standard way that you would fill cartridge converters, and a lot of threads there, which I think is good. It's not something you're going to do many, many times a day. And there's that metal section, which we'll look at a little bit later in the video. You may say that that doesn't look like a Fuliwen converter, and you're absolutely right. It's certainly not the one that normally comes with this pen, but the converter that I got for some reason wouldn't fill. And I've gotten comments from viewers where their converters don't work, and I suggest taking them apart, cleaning them, silicone greasing them, or whatever. But in this case, I just looked for a replacement converter. I have a few other ones that I can pull out of pens. But what I noticed when I tried to put in a standard international, it wouldn't fit. The barrel wouldn't get over there. So I was surprised because that's a big barrel. So let's look inside of it. We're using the LED light, and we look inside the barrel. We'll see that there's a number of different steps which reduce the diameter in the barrel, and that limits the converter. A lot of times that wider part of the converter won't fit past that second step in there. So if you need to replace the converter on your pen, be aware of that not every converter is going to fit inside the barrel. It may fit fine on the section. I haven't really done a look through here to, it's fairly opaque. Let's darken the room a little. The thinner part of the resin, there is some translucency, but it gets kind of lost within the thickness of the barrel. And that's one of the things that makes this pen nice, is that thick barrel really gives it a good substantial feel in your hand. And the finish on it is excellent. That feels good. So it's a little bit of a look at this pen and one of the different and unique quirks about its design. If you look inside the cap, we'll just see a straight cap, but it's one piece, so therefore it's going to seal well. I've never had a drying out issue with these pens, and it is very thick, which is nice, and like I say, gives that pen a substantial feel. So what is the real difference between the Fuliwen converter at the bottom and a standard international, which is at the top, is where this wide band ends and this the screw activator starts. There's a good distance between those two, and when you try to use this type of converter, it gets hung up in that ledge inside the barrel. Other than that, their length is pretty much the same. The end is pretty much the same. So I was able to draw up ink with this one, but couldn't put it back in the barrel. So I needed to find a shorter converter. It's one thing to keep in mind that I didn't really think about before, is this converter design has as much to do with it being able to work as the end fitting into the section. Here we have the Fuliwen 017 disassembled as far as I can take it. It's a classic design. The only thing that's a little different is how the section accommodates the nib assembly. That's a standard Moonman nib assembly with that threads on one end. And rather than having threads machined into the section, they've decided to use this metal collar, which have threads, which thread into that nib assembly, and that holds it into the section and also stabilizes the converter. It's an interesting design. I think it's a design that potentially might save some manufacturing steps, but then you're adding another element, another item that you need to accommodate, have inventory for, and use that. I would say I'm not a fan of that design. I would prefer just to have this screw in to that section the way that that's typical with this type of design. I could not pull the nib and feed out of this nib collar. I know I pulled them out of other ones, but, you know, like PenBBS, occasionally you're not going to be able to pull it out. Just a beautiful, interesting resin. And this is that upscale, you know, 2020 version. And the snake roll stop fits very securely. I had to adjust the tail because the tail was sticking up. But these are very easily moved around and changing their contour, their diameter to fit as tightly as you would like. So what ink to use? I wanted to put a new ink in there. So this is the last ink I've gotten, which is a PenBBS ink. It's a number 291. And it does have glitter in it, so we'll see how well the Fuliwen nib and feed handle glitter. And yes, it's like a green glitter. I just like these bottles and I like these inks, and I find them just excellent to use. You can see I put a rubber band on there because taking off this cap can be a little bit of a challenge. A little bit, you can see the color there. Let's look at the color card. It is definitely somewhat in that turquoise family. And it does have some glitter to it. Got to catch the light just right. I mean, it's not an in-your-face glitter, but it certainly is there. The chromatography was just clean. That's a clean, clean color. You can see a little bit of glitter there that stays behind, and you can see that it's not a substantially overly glittered ink, but it works well. And I really do like the color. So we're down to that all-important, how does it write? So again, almost 3 turns to get the cap off, which is about 1.5 turns more than necessary. That section is almost perfect from my perspective. We'll give you those dimensions of the section. The threads aren't sharp, so if you're somebody who likes to hold your fingers a long ways away from the end of the nib, you can do that. And this step up is also not sharp. You can feel it, but you put pressure on it, it still works fine. I love that little flare out at the end. And with that large number 6 nib in it, you know, you can really use this in any position. And I find it to be extremely comfortable in the hand for long writing sessions. And like I mentioned, if you need to post it, you can post it, but then when you write, you can see that really nice pattern at the top of the cap. You know, this color and maybe a little bit over the top, but I like it. So it brings me to mind that we need to look at just 2 other pens that came to mind with this one. So I've enjoyed colorful pens since the first time I was able to get colorful pens. So size-wise, these 3 pens are in the same league. This is the Noodler's Neponset and the Edison 76. And all of these 3 have very interesting resins in them. Certainly resins you don't see every day. And they're substantial pens, so you know, you whip this out in a room full of strangers and they're probably going to go, wow. All of these 3 have interesting nibs. Obviously, the Neponset, which I reviewed as a 14 karat music nib. Noodler's did make a few of those. The Edison just has a nice gold nib in it that writes very nicely. And, of course, the Fuliwen. So we're talking, you know, let's say $30. This was about $110, which was interesting and amazing for a 14 karat nib. And this was a lot more. But I got to talk to Brian Gray, you know, and we talked about nibs and we talked about pen design. And, you know, I enjoyed the pen. I called this Jungle Jazz. He had another name for it. But let's see how the Fuliwen writes. I think you could hear that this is a very smooth writer. When I first touched nib to paper, I thought it was too smooth. It also required a little bit of pressure to write, but after a few pages of writing, I really got to like the nib. It's still a little bit sensitive, and if you don't put the right pressure at the right angle, it'll be a little bit of a skippy writer, but I think over time, as I write with it more and more, it's going to be better and better. So let's rate this pen. I'm going to give it a 9.2. And it's going to get a few checks. One for the design, ergonomics. One for the build, the color, the resin. It's nice. This and the M8, the Moonman M8, I think are two excellent pens, pretty much on the large size, which just write well and are very ergonomic, fit well in the hand. You can see where I'm holding it on those threads. I mean, it's a far way away from the nib. So hopefully you've enjoyed this look at the fourth model of this 017 series. Not a color for everyone, but there are 3 other colors, maybe 4 sometimes, depending upon who's selling and what's available. So if you like a pen like this, it's a little on the large size, go for it. So we've reached the end of this video. Thank you for watching. I enjoy sharing with you my pens. I enjoy the comments that many of my viewers give me. And it's just a nice world that we are in certain aspects, at least from the fountain pen perspective. Other than that, it might be a little bit more challenging than most of us would like, but we just need to stick in there and find pleasure where we can and stay healthy and safe and happy. We're going to say the end for now. And bye until the next video. And yeah, I'm getting the nib not lined up properly. But writing over the camera is sometimes not the easiest thing to do. But take my word for it. It's a good writer. And it works well with this glitter ink, which I really enjoy.